G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. Sorry it's been a while since I've posted anything new, but life gets in the way and lots of things have to get done. Not bonsai related, unfortunately. But now we're back with a lovely little black pine here. It's a decent sized tree, very big, nice base nabari. Got a nice movement in the trunk, nice thickness. A few wounds here and there that are healing over, but it's a really nice structured tree. Lots of nice back branches actually. But yeah, pretty nice. All I've really done to this is clean it up over the autumn, winter months. Just pluck the old needles and getting it ready for the coming spring. But it's also a good time now to wire and style the tree. So this tree, really, don't about the pot. The pot's a little bit large at the moment. I'm going to put it in a new pot. It comes spring, a much smaller, a bit more interesting pot. But this is a nice Japanese pot too, but it's too big. But the main issue with this tree. Now, maybe some of you can pick it, but really for me, it's about the age of the tree not being reflected well enough in this tree. What I mean by that is this is a very nice big old nabari. The trunk's starting to crack up really nicely. Got a really nice movement in here, in here, and here. And then we kind of get a real too tall, just getting too tall. Okay, it gets very pointy here, where it should be more rounded. Now, if this was more rounded, the tree will look much older. Like if the tree was there more rounded or something, it will look a lot older than it's a bit pointy at the moment. So I've got a couple of things I want to do, really, to try and reduce that. I want to see, can I wire that into a smaller tree? Or do I have to cut off this part of the tree and recreate a top, pretty much recreate the top with that, something like that. Just because it's like starting to get a really long neck and it's making the tree very young. So I don't like seeing such an old big base with a very young kind of top. It needs to reflect the age. So first thing I'm going to really do before I touch this at all is wire the tree. Most of the main branches are done and dusted. They're in the spot that they should be, but it's all the secondary branches haven't been, need a bit more wiring work, right? So once I do that and start to really position everything the way I like it, then I can see how negative this is, or how much more work I have to do. Do I really come back really hard to one of these branches and regrow the top? Or do I just wire this up somehow? I don't think I can, but I can bend it, but I don't think I can bend it in a way that will fit nicely. So really I'm going to go away, start wiring this tree, start at the bottom, work my way up, and get through it all. None of the main branches will need wiring. It's all the secondary, or tertiary even, I should say, tertiary branches. So really get that all nice and fill that beautifully. And then we can actually see how the layers all fit together, how the tree all fits together. And I want to try and maybe compact it a little bit more as well. What that means, it makes it more smaller tree, and then you can really see how long and tall this is. So that's the game. So let's get started. Let's get wiring. So after wiring pretty much everything from there down and really getting those branches lower and getting the pads more appropriately positioned, there's a couple of this branch in particular, bringing it around and more forward to kind of hide a bit of the trunk. You can see now why this tree is too tall. I did see it initially, but now hopefully, obviously for me, and hopefully you guys can see, it is too tall. I'd really love the tree to finish in and around there, and that's going to be tricky. I just want to show you where I was at. I was up to this branch. Now, ideally, it would have been perfect to have a branch just in there to fill in just this bit and have branches, but I don't have that. I've got a branch here and a couple of branches at the back that I'm going to have to use to try and finish an apex off. I was trying to use this to bring it around, but it wasn't working very well. I need that branch in this position, so I've left it there. But having just one more, using a branch here and a couple of branches towards the back, should be able to try and drop this branch down into this gap here, and then try and bring maybe one of this small branches, start to create a full apex, and use the back branches to create an overall apex. Remember, an apex isn't one branch; it's multiple branches to make the apex. So I'm going to have probably 3 branches to create that apex in there. And then you can probably now see it even better that this area here is very straight. It is what it is. So unfortunately, which is very rare for me, I'll be cutting this much off the tree. So that'll be gone. Nothing I can do, but now you can see clearly to me, and hopefully clear to you, that it needs to go. It just won't fit. It won't suit the tree. It'll be very tall. That's why wiring the tree is very important before you make any big cuts if you're not sure. Whilst I knew that was too tall, I still had to be sure. I really want to be sure before I do any big cuts, because otherwise I'll never get back that part of the tree. So I'm just going to finish off really pretty much wiring those branches, put them in position, and you'll see what a nice little tree this will become. As I mentioned, one of the big moves I made was this branch here. It's now coming. I'll show you a bit more in detail. It's coming more forward now. It was actually out here more, and now I've brought it forward. So that's probably the biggest bend that I've put into it. I've used copper throughout because it's such a small tree. Having aluminium would have been too protrusive and obtrusive to the tree in terms of you'll be able to see the heavy gauge wire on there, and it won't really look good. At the moment, it's pretty hard to see some of the wire on this tree because copper is that kind of color that blends really well with pines. It really suits working on pines, especially because it just disappears almost with the color of the bark. So I'm really happy with the way the tree's going. Now you can pretty clear to see how that is just too tall. Ideally, we don't have the best branches to finish off the apex, but I'm going to do my best with what I've got. Maybe in the future, I'll redo some of this area here and become, if something happens better, if a branch develops better in here, then I could change it and put that in its place. But really, I need a couple of these branches to fill in those gaps. So I'm going to wire it, and we'll come back and have a look. All right, so what I'm going to try and do is show you how I create this new apex. Hardest thing is trying to keep my hands out of the way so you guys can see. But remember, from this branch onwards above, I'm going to get rid of, which I could, but I want to do that as a dramatic piece at the end so you can see what I'm going to do. So what I'm planning to do is use this branch that's here. It actually forks off into a couple of branches, which is really good for me because I'm going to use this front one here to try and bring it around and create an apex or a new front to it. So I'm going to try, I think the only way I'm going to do that is try and move this around slowly. So I'm pretending this is going to be a new apex in there somehow. But I'm going to have to look at it. So I'm going to try and drop this branch down as much as I can. I might have to guide wire it to get a good finish. So I am trying to use this as a new apex in a way. And then all these branches around to really fill in the gaps. Okay, so then I've got this one here. I'll just put that in roughly in position. So I'm going to try and bring this one right around. So I can fill in this gap in here. That's good. Now I've got this really important back branch in here, which is going to play a pivotal role because that's going to really fill in every little space that I miss in a way. So let's try and go back to the apex part and try and get this in position the way I want it to be. All right, so this is now the tree. It's a little bit tall still, but I think over time we can really build this apex properly and get it looking good. Now let's do the removal of the other branches because we know 100% that this is just too tall and we want a smaller tree. All right, let's do the removal so you see the fun part of it coming to life. I'll just make sure the cameras are right on. So let's go slow. Let's take off a branch at a time. I'm not going to put a gin on this tree. It doesn't have any gin anywhere else, so that's usually a giveaway. So I'm just slowly likes to remove things. This would have been a really good top here, but it's just too high. So slowly disappearing. Oh. Okay, so we've still got a few branches that are out of the silhouette. Now, with this bit here, with the dead bit, or what will die off, is I don't go flush straight away. I'm going to leave a little stub to die back slowly. So I've got about a couple inches stub at the top that I'll let die back. Now, I've just noticed some of these branches are out of whack, so I'm going to go and just position them and probably reduce a little bit. They're a bit long, so I'm going to just reduce a little bit, and we'll have a look at the final product in a second. So here's what the finished product looks like. We're very, very happy with the tree now. The reduction in height is just a must now that you see it like this. Really, this tree is now just settled in to grow and bud out and just follow the whole black pine decandling bud selection process that we go through each summer and autumn. That's really it. That's where this tree is now. Probably some detail wiring as the tree develops a bit more. It just needs a bit more bud backing in certain areas, but nothing too major. It'll be just going through that process now of more buds, fuller branches, with more buds and so on, and hopefully get them nice and small, the buds and the needles. So the next step really for this tree, as I've mentioned to you, is I am planning to repot this tree. Now, really, I didn't remove hardly anything except for the top on this tree. So, and I didn't remove any candles, didn't do any bud selecting, didn't do anything like that. It was purely wiring and taking out the top. It's very, very minimal. Other than obviously I just needle plucked at the start, which is just normal autumn work, which is nothing too traumatic to the tree. This tree has all the new candles ready to go, which is very important. That's where the energy and strength will come on for the roots. So that's all safe and so on. But that means I can repot this, and I will do that job soon. It's early August here. I'll kind of wait until late August for pines. Junipers probably start mid-August here in Melbourne, and then I'll do the pines a bit later in August as it warms up. We've had a very mild, very, very mild winter here with a lot of deciduous trees already starting to pop very early. Still another month of winter, but they're starting to pop in Melbourne. So I really want to look at these trees and repotting it. I do have a couple of pots in mind, more ovally kind of pots, so it should look nice, but I'll give you a little spin around. You can see how nice and the actual back is quite dense, which is good. Probably have to reduce a little bit over time, but as I said, I didn't want to remove much on this tree. I want to give it its best chance, and it's a lovely little size now. That Nabari is that big. It's actually, oh man, it's almost the width of the Nabari is almost maybe twice the height. Not even. It's a really nice, small, fat, old-looking tree now. Maybe in a couple of years we'll be ready for a show. Just let it develop a bit more and get it looking good. Nothing really other than bending this branch heavily and redoing the top. That was the only really tricky part. The rest is just wiring. So wiring is critical to conifers, and make sure you wire your trees. Any questions? I'm happy to answer on this tree. Hope you enjoyed it, and it's good to be back doing more videos, and I'll see you next time.